Hello friends, a very good day to you. Today we shall be talking about the third battle of Panipat, okay? And as you know, the first battle of Panipat was fought between the forces of Babur and Ibrahim Lodi, the second between the forces of Hemu and Bairam Khan, who was acting for Akbar, and this is the third and the final battle of Panipat, okay? And what you have to remember about the third battle of Panipat is that the previous two battles had been there was a common element in the previous two battles, and that was the Mughals, but the third battle will be fought between the forces of Ahmad Shah Abdali, who is also sometimes called Ahmad Shah Durrani, all right, and the forces of the Marathas, okay, which is you see provided with the guidance of Peshwa Balaji Bajirao. Peshwa Balaji Bajirao is the reigning Peshwa at this point of time, and the battle is itself led by Vishwas Rao, which is the Peshwa's son, and Sadasiv Rao, which is the Peshwa's cousin, all right. Although Vishwas Rao is given the commanding position, it is actually Sadasiv Rao who is leading the charge of the battle. And we know of the third battle of Panipat, we know that Ahmad Shah Durrani's forces or Ahmad Shah Abdali's forces, they completely defeat the Marathas in the third battle of Panipat, and the Marathas you see are left with a tottering empire at that point of time. You see, after the third battle of Panipat is over, the Marathas and their empire in the north, it receives a shock, a root shock, and from this shock the Marathas don't really come out, all right, until the Marathas later on face the British, and the British completely destroy them through the Anglo-Maratha wars, all right. So the first question that should come to our minds is that why is Ahmad Shah Abdali, who is himself a foreign invader, who is fighting in the northern part of India, why is he fighting with the Marathas and why not the Mughals, all right. So that for that we have to remember that the Mughals at this point of time are, you see, quite incapable to fight any wars. The Mughal power or the Mughal kingdom itself extends only to the, you see, immediate surroundings of Delhi, and they don't have any real political power. Most of the Mughal governorates or most of the Mughal provinces have declared their own independence, and now the Mughals and their governors, the erstwhile governors, are ruling independently, although they accept Mughal suzerainty over them, although they accept that they are ruling with the legitimacy which is derived from the Mughal seat or the Mughal emperor, but they are ruling independently. And in this scene, the Marathas arrive in the north, and the Marathas are able to carve out their own spheres of influences in the north. In fact, the Maratha intrusion in the north had begun with the Maratha Peshwa Bajirao himself, when the system of Maratha Confederacy was first thought out, okay, the division of the Maratha, you see, areas of influence in the northern portions of India among the Holkars, the Scindias, okay, the Bhosles. So these kind of system had been arrived at by Bajirao himself, and later on this system gets strengthened to the point when the Mughal Emperor Ahmad Shah signs a treaty with the Marathas that the Marathas will in fact defend the Mughals from external aggression, okay, through the Maratha army. The Marathas will defend the Mughal empire from external aggression through the Maratha army, and in return the Marathas will get the right to collect the Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi. Okay, the Marathas will get the rights to collect Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi, the two kinds of taxes that the Marathas used to collect, and in return the Marathas will be required to provide assistance to the Mughals in case of external aggression or any kind of disturbances to the Mughal empire. And it is this treaty that is conducted between the Marathas and the Mughal emperor that leads to the Maratha defense of the northern portions of India from the attack of Ahmad Shah Abdali. And we see that in the third battle of Panipat, the Marathas are completely defeated, and this itself hinders the system that had been put forward, that is the Maratha Confederacy. Okay, the Maratha Confederacy, which has been put together during you see, starting from the time of Bajirao, Peshwa Bajirao. This system, you see, gets a root shock because of the attack of Ahmad Shah Abdali, and later on we see that the powers of the Marathas, they steeply decline, and then when they conflict with the British through the Anglo-Maratha wars, we see that the 3 Anglo-Maratha wars are completely able to destroy the Maratha power in India. So this is in short the third battle of Panipat, the story behind the third battle of Panipat and the results of the third battle of Panipat. You see, it is fairly simple. So these are the things, the background. You have to know certain things about the background, that is the formation of the Maratha Confederacy. You also have to know about the fact that the Mughals had conducted a treaty with the Marathas, which also included the Chaut and Sardeshmukhi collection rights and the defense of the Mughal territories. Okay, so these things you have to remember about the third battle of Panipat. You have to remember the chief belligerents, that is Ahmad Shah Abdali forces and the forces of Balaji Bajirao, who are led by Vishwas Rao, which is his son, Sadasiv Rao, which is his cousin. Also about Ahmad Shah Abdali, you also should remember that Ahmad Shah Abdali was himself a commander of Nadir Shah. Okay, Nadir Shah, who had previously invaded the Mughal Empire and was able to carry off with him the Peacock Throne. Peacock Throne, that is also known as the Takht-e-Tawus. Takht-e-Tawus. Tawus meaning peacock, okay, Takht meaning throne, of course. Takht-e-Tawus or Peacock Throne, which was the crowning jewel of the Mughal Empire. Nadir Shah had carried it off to Persia with him, along with the very famous Kohinoor diamond, okay, which is in British possession nowadays, housed in the Tower of London, if I am not wrong. So the Kohinoor diamond and the Peacock Throne were carried away by Nadir Shah after his ransacking of Delhi. Ahmad Shah Abdali himself was of the same, you see, he followed the same modality. He ransacked Delhi, okay, during his stay in India. And when Ahmad Shah Abdali, who was one of the commanders of Nadir Shah, mind you, when he went away from Delhi, before he went away, he deputized Najib-ud-Dawla, all right, a Rohilla Afghan, all right, a Rohilla Afghan as the regent, or you see, a viceroy of the Mughal emperor. Najib-ud-Dawla as a regent or the viceroy of the Mughal emperor. And from this you gather that the Mughal empire, which had once been a mighty and powerful empire, can now be subverted by any person who is coming out of India or within India for that matter, and it can be subverted or it can be fought against without much of a thought towards you see, retaliation. Okay, so this is the history of the third battle of Panipat. It's fairly simple. I hope that you have understood it, and I hope that you will be studying hard. Do well. Thank you.